9.5 Bulk packaging marking, loading and unloading. The glossary at the end of this section gives the meaning of the word bulk. Cargo tanks are bulk packaging permanently attached to a vehicle. Cargo tanks remain on the vehicle when you load and unload them. Portable tanks are bulk packaging, which are not permanently attached to a vehicle. The product is loaded or unloaded while the portable tanks are off the vehicle. Portable tanks are then put on a vehicle for transportation. There are many types of cargo tanks in use. The most common cargo tanks are MC306 for liquids and MC331 for gases. 9.5.1 Markings. You must display the ID number of the hazmat in portable tanks and cargo tanks and other bulk packaging such as dump trucks. ID numbers are in column 4 of the hazardous materials table. The rules require black 100 millimeter 3.9 inch numbers on orange panels, placards, or a white diamond-shaped background if no placards are required. Specification cargo tanks must show retest date markings. Portable tanks must show the lessee or owner's name. They must also display the shipping name of the contents on 2 opposing sides. The letters of the shipping name must be at least 2 inches tall on portable tanks with capacities of more than 1,000 gallons and 1 inch tall on portable tanks with capacities of less than 1,000 gallons. The ID number must appear on each side and each end of a portable tank or other bulk packaging that holds 1,000 gallons or more, and on 2 opposing sides if the portable tank holds less than 1,000 gallons. The ID numbers must still be visible when the portable tank is on the motor vehicle. If they are not visible, you must display the ID number on both sides and ends of the motor vehicle. Intermediate bulk containers, or IBCs, are bulk packaging but are not required to have the owner's name or shipping name. 9.5.2 Tank loading. The person in charge of loading and unloading a cargo tank must be sure a qualified person is always watching. This person watching the loading or unloading must be alert, have a clear view of the cargo tank, be within 25 feet of the tank, know the hazards of the materials involved, know the procedures to follow in an emergency, be authorized to move the cargo tank and able to do so. There are special attendance rules for cargo tanks transporting propane and anhydrous ammonia. Close all manholes and valves before moving a tank of hazmat, no matter how small the amount in the tank or how short the distance. Manholes and valves must be closed to prevent leaks. It is illegal to move a cargo tank with open valves or covers unless it is empty, according to CFR Title 49, 173.29. 9.5.3 Flammable liquids. Turn off your engine before loading or unloading any flammable liquids. Only run the engine if needed to operate a pump. Ground a cargo tank correctly before filling it through an open filling hole. Ground the tank before opening the filling hole and maintain the ground until after closing the filling hole. 9.5.4 Compressed gas. Keep liquid discharge valves on a compressed gas tank closed except when loading and unloading. Unless your engine runs a pump for product transfer, Turn it off when loading or unloading. If you use the engine, turn it off after product transfer and before you unhook the hose. Unhook all loading, unloading connections before coupling, uncoupling, or moving a cargo tank. Always chock trailers and semi-trailers to prevent motion when uncoupled from the power unit. Subsection 9.5, test your knowledge. What are cargo tanks? That's question 1. What are cargo tanks? Question number 2, how is a portable tank different from a cargo tank? Question number 3, your engine runs a pump used during delivery of compressed gas. Should you turn off the engine before or after unhooking hoses after delivery? These questions may be on your test. If you cannot answer them all, reread subsection 9.5. 9.6, hazardous materials, driving and parking rules. 9.6.1, parking with division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. Never park with division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives within 5 feet of the traveled part of the road, except for short periods of time needed for vehicle operation necessities, for example, fueling. Do not park within 300 feet of a bridge, tunnel, or building, a place where people gather, and open fire. If you must park to do your job, do so only briefly. Do not park on private property unless the owner is aware of the danger. Someone must always watch the parked vehicle. You may let someone else watch it for you only if your vehicle is on the shipper's property, on the carrier's property, on the consignee's property. You are allowed to leave your vehicle unattended in a safe haven. A safe haven is an approved place for parking unattended vehicles loaded with explosives. Designation of authorized safe havens is usually made by local authorities. 9.6.2, parking a placarded vehicle not transporting division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. You may park a placarded vehicle not laden with explosives within 5 feet of the traveled part of the road only if your work requires it. Do so only briefly. Someone must always watch the vehicle when parked on a public roadway or shoulder. Do not uncouple a trailer and leave it with hazmat on a public street. Do not park within 300 feet of an open fire. 9.6.3, attending placarded parked vehicles. The person attending a placarded vehicle must be in the vehicle, awake, and not in the sleeper berth, or within 100 feet of the vehicle, and have it within clear view. The person attending a placarded vehicle must be aware of hazards of the material being transported. They must know what to do in emergencies. They must be able to move the vehicle if needed. 9.6.4, no flares. You might break down and have to use stopped vehicle signals. Use reflective triangles or red electric lights. Never use burning signals such as flares or fuses around a tank used for Class 3 flammable liquids or Division 2.1 flammable gas, whether loaded or empty. Never use burning signals such as flares or fuses around a vehicle loaded with Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. 9.6.5, route restrictions. Some states and counties require permits to transport hazmat or wastes. They may limit the routes you can use. Local rules about routes and permits change often. It is your job as driver to find out if you need permits or must use special routes. Make sure you have all needed papers before starting. If you work for a carrier, ask your dispatcher about route restrictions or permits. If you are an independent trucker planning a new route, check with state agencies where you can plan to travel. Some localities prohibit transportation of hazmat through tunnels, over bridges, or other roadways. Always check before you start. Whenever placarded, avoid heavily populated areas, crowds, tunnels, narrow streets, and alleys. Take other routes, even if inconvenient, unless there is no other way. Never drive a placarded vehicle near open fires unless you can safely pass without stopping. If transporting Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives, you must have a written route plan and follow that plan. Carriers prepare the route plan in advance and give the driver a copy. You may plan the route yourself if you pick up the explosives at a location other than your employer's terminal. Write out the plan in advance. Keep a copy of it with you while transporting the explosives. Deliver shipments of explosives only to authorized persons or leave them in locked rooms designed for explosive storage. A carrier must choose the safest route to transport placarded radioactive materials. After choosing the route, the carrier must tell the driver about the radioactive materials and show the route plan. Transporting explosives in California. When transporting any amount of Division 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, or 1.6 explosives, or in combination of any of these explosives together with a Division 1.5 explosives blasting agent as a delivery service or for hire, you must use special routes, safe stopping places, safe parking places, and mandatory vehicle inspection locations prescribed by CHP. When transporting more than 1,000 pounds of these explosives in private carriage, other than as a delivery service, the same requirements apply. Transporting inhalation hazards in California. Shipments of materials designated as poison inhalation hazard, toxic inhalation hazard, or inhalation hazard per CFR Title 49, 172.203, when transported in bulk packaging, CFR Title 49, 171.8, must also be transported using special routes, safe stopping places, and mandatory vehicle inspection locations prescribed by CHP for these materials. Transporting radioactive materials in California. There are also special routes prescribed by CHP for Highway Route Controlled Quantity, HRCQ, and radioactive materials, RAM, shipments. Read that again. There are also specific routes prescribed by the CHP for Highway Route Controlled Quantity, HRCQ, and also radioactive materials, RAM, shipments, radioactive material shipments. Drivers must have in their possession a copy of the routes supplied by the carrier applicable to their shipment when transporting these materials. These routes, stopping places, and inspection locations are contained in CCR Title 13, 1150 through 1152.8, explosives. Also, 1155 through 1157.20 IH and 1158 through 1159 HRCQ. These requirements are also published by the CHP. Motor carriers may receive these publications, including revisions, by indicating their request on the Application for Hazardous Materials Transportation License, CHP 361M, as in Michael, form, or by contacting the DMV Commercial Vehicle section. Read that again. Motor carriers may receive these publications, including revisions, by indicating their request on the, quote, Application for Hazardous Materials Transportation License, CHP 361M, form, or by contacting the DMV Commercial Vehicle Section Routing Coordinator at 916-327-3310. California General Hazardous Materials Routing Requirement. The following general routing and parking restrictions, CVC 31303, apply to hazmat and waste shipments for which the display of vehicle placards and or markings is required for CVC 27903, except shipments subject to and in conformance with special routing and related requirements. First, unless specifically restricted or prohibited, CVC 31304, use state or interstate highways that offer the least transit time whenever possible. Next, whenever practical, avoid congested highways, places where crowds are assembled, and residence districts, CVC 515. Next, deviation from designated routes is not excusable on the basis of operating convenience. Next, do not leave a loaded vehicle unattended or parked overnight in a residence district. Next, except for specifically restricted or prohibited highways, other highways may be used that provide necessary access for pickup or delivery consistent with safe vehicle operation. Next, highways that provide reasonable access to fuel, repairs, rest, or food facilities that are designed and intended for commercial vehicle parking when that access is safe and the facility is within 1/2 mile of the points of exit and or entry to the designated route. And finally, restricted or prohibited routes may only be used when no other lawful alternative exists. CHP also publishes a list of restricted or prohibited highways, CVC 31304. Copies of this list may be obtained by contacting the DMV Commercial Vehicle Section Routing Coordinator at 916-327-3310. 9.6.6, no smoking. Do not smoke within 25 feet of a placarded cargo tank used for Class 3 flammable liquids or Division 2.1 gases. Also, do not smoke or carry a lighted cigarette, cigar, or pipe within 25 feet of any vehicle which contains Class 1 explosives, Class 3 flammable liquids, Class 4.1 flammable solids, Class 4.2 spontaneously combustible, or Class 5 oxidizers. 9.6.7, refuel with engine off. Turn off your engine before fueling a motor vehicle containing hazmat. Someone must always be at the nozzle controlling fuel flow. 9.6.8 10 BC fire extinguisher. The power unit of placarded vehicles must have a fire extinguisher with an Underwriters Laboratories or UL rating of 10 BC or more. 9.6.9 Check tires. Make sure your tires are properly inflated. You must examine each tire on a motor vehicle at the beginning of each trip and each time the vehicle is parked. The only acceptable way to check tire pressure is to use a tire pressure gauge. Do not drive with a tire that is leaking or flat except to the nearest safe place to fix it. Remove any overheated tire. Place it a safe distance from your vehicle. Do not drive until you correct the cause of the overheating. Remember to allow the rules about parking and attending placarded vehicles. They apply even when checking, repairing, or replacing tires. 9.6.10 Where to keep shipping papers and emergency response information. Do not accept a hazmat shipment without a properly prepared shipping paper. A shipping paper for hazmat must always be easily recognized. Other people must be able to find it quickly after an accident. First, clearly distinguish hazmat shipping papers from others by tabbing them or keeping them on top of your stack of papers. Next, when you are behind the wheel, keep shipping papers within your reach with your seatbelt on or in a pouch on the driver's door. They must be easily seen by someone entering the cab. Next, when not behind the wheel, leave shipping papers in the driver's door pouch or on the driver's seat. Finally, emergency response information must be kept in the same location as the shipping paper. Papers for Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives. A carrier must give each driver transporting Division 1.1, 1.2, or 1.3 explosives a copy of FMCSR Part 397. The carrier must also give written instructions on what to do if delayed or in an accident. The written instructions must include the names and telephone numbers of people to contact, including carrier agents or shippers. Next, the nature of the explosives transported, and finally, the precautions to take in emergencies such as fires, accidents, or leaks. Note, drivers must sign a receipt for these documents. You must be familiar with and have in your possession while driving your shipping papers, written emergency instructions, a written route plan, a copy of FMCSR Part 397. 9.6.11 Equipment for chlorine. A driver transporting chlorine in cargo tanks must have an approved gas mask in the vehicle. The driver must also have an emergency kit for controlling leaks in dome cover plate fittings on the cargo tank. 9.6.12 Stop before railroad crossings. Stop before a railroad crossing if your vehicle is placarded, carries any amount of chlorine, has cargo tanks, whether loaded or empty, used for hazmat. You must stop 15 to 50 feet before the nearest rail. Proceed only when you are sure no train is coming and you can clear the tracks without stopping. Do not shift gears while crossing the tracks. 9.7 Hazardous Materials Emergencies. 9.7.1 Emergency Response Guidebook, ERG. The Department of Transportation has a guidebook for firefighters, police, and industry workers on how to protect themselves and the public from hazmat. The guide is indexed by the proper shipping name and hazmat ID number. Emergency personnel look for these things on the shipping paper. That is why it is vital that the proper shipping name, ID number, label, and placards are correct. 9.7.2 Accidents, Incidents. As a professional driver, your job at the scene of an accident or incident is to keep people away from the scene, limit the spread of material only if you can safely do so, communicate the danger of the hazmat to emergency response personnel, provide emergency responders with the shipping papers and emergency response information. Follow this checklist. First, check to see that your driving partner is okay. Next, keep shipping papers with you. Next, keep people far away and upwind. Next, warn others of the danger. Next, call for help. And finally, follow your employer's instructions. 9.7.3 Fires. You might have to control minor truck fires on the road. However, unless you have the training and equipment to do so safely, do not fight hazmat fires. Dealing with hazmat fires requires special training and protective gear. If you discover a fire, call for help. You may use the fire extinguisher to keep minor truck fires from spreading to cargo before firefighters arrive. Feel trailer doors to see if they are hot before opening them. If hot, you may have a cargo fire and should not open the doors. Opening doors lets air in and may make the fire flare up. Without air, many fires only smolder until firefighters arrive, doing less damage. If your cargo is already on fire, it is not safe to fight the fire. Keep the shipping papers with you to give to emergency personnel as soon as they arrive. Warn other people of the danger and keep them away. If you discover a cargo leak, call for help. Identify the hazmat leaking using shipping papers, labels, or package location. Do not touch any leaking material. Many people injure themselves by touching hazmat. Do not try to identify the material or find the source of a leak by smell. Toxic gases can destroy your sense of smell and injure or kill you even if they do not smell. Never eat, drink, or smoke around a leak or spill. If hazmat is spilling from your vehicle, call for help. Do not move your vehicle any more than safety requires. You may move off the road and away from places where people gather, if doing so serves safety. Only move your vehicle if you can do so without danger to yourself or others. Never continue driving with hazmat leaking from your vehicle in order to find a phone booth, truck stop, help, or similar reason. Remember, the carrier pays for the cleanup of contaminated parking lots, roadways, and drainage ditches. The costs are enormous, so do not leave a lengthy trail of contamination. If hazmat is spilling from your vehicle, park it, secure the area, stay there, use your cell phone or CB to call for help. If your cell phone or CB does not work, send someone else for help. When sending someone else for help, give that person a description of the emergency, your exact location and direction of travel, your name, the carrier's name, and the name of the community or city where your terminal is located, the proper shipping name, hazard class, and ID number of the hazmat if you know them. This is a lot for someone to remember. It is a good idea to write it all down for the person you send for help. The emergency response team must know these things to find you and to handle the emergency. They may have to travel miles to get to you. This information will help them to bring the right equipment the first time without having to go back for it. It may be quicker to take a picture of your shipping papers and emergency contact information with their cell phone. Never move your vehicle if doing so will cause contamination or damage of the vehicle. Keep upwind and away from roadside rest stops, truck stops, cafes, and businesses. Never try to repack leaking containers. Unless you have the training and equipment to repair leaks safely, don't try it. Call your dispatcher or supervisor for instructions and, if needed, emergency personnel. 9.7.4 Responses to specific hazards. Class 1 Explosives. If your vehicle has a breakdown or accident while carrying explosives, warn others of the danger. Keep bystanders away. Do not allow smoking or open fire near the vehicle. If there is a fire, warn everyone of the danger of explosion. Remove all explosives before separating vehicles involved in an accident. Place the explosives at least 200 feet from vehicles and occupied buildings. Stay a safe distance away. Class 2 Compressed gases. If compressed gas is leaking from your vehicle, warn others of the danger. Only permit those involved in removing the hazard or wreckage to get close. You must notify the shipper if compressed gas is involved in any accident. Unless you are fueling machinery used in road construction or maintenance, do not transfer a flammable compressed gas from one tank to another on any public roadway. Class 3 Flammable liquids. If you are transporting a flammable liquid and have an accident or your vehicle breaks down, prevent bystanders from gathering. Warn people of the danger. Keep them from smoking. Never transport a leaking cargo tank farther than needed to reach a safe place. Get off the roadway if you can do so safely. Do not transfer flammable liquids from one vehicle to another on a public roadway except in an emergency. Class 4 Flammable solids, and Class 5 Oxidizing materials. If a flammable solid or oxidizing material spills, warn others of the fire hazard. Do not open smoldering packages of flammable solids. Remove them from the vehicle if you can safely do so. Also, remove unbroken packages if it will decrease the fire hazard. Class 6 Poisonous materials and infectious substances. It is your job to protect yourself, other people, and property from harm. Remember that many products classed as poison are also flammable. If you think a Division 2.3 poison gases or Division 6.1 poison materials might be flammable, take the added precautions needed for flammable liquids or gases. Do not allow smoking, open flame, or welding near the vehicle. Warn others of the hazards of fire, inhaling vapors, or coming in contact with the poison. A vehicle involved in a leak of Division 2.3 poison gases or Division 6.1 poisons must be checked for stray poison before being used again. If a Division 6.2 infectious substances package is damaged in handling or transportation, you should immediately contact your supervisor. Packages that appear to be damaged or show signs of leakage should not be accepted. Class 7, radioactive materials. If radioactive materials is involved in a leak or broken package, tell your dispatcher or supervisor as soon as possible. If there is a spill or an internal container might be damaged, do not touch or inhale the material. Do not use the vehicle until it is cleaned and checked with a survey meter. Class 8, corrosive materials. If corrosives spill or leak during transportation, be careful to avoid further damage or injury when handling the containers. Parts of the vehicle exposed to a corrosive liquid must be thoroughly washed with water. After unloading, wash out the interior as soon as possible before reloading. If continuing to transport a leaking tank, start over. If continuing to transport a leaking tank would be unsafe, get off the road. If safe to do so, contain any liquid leaking from the vehicle. Keep bystanders away from the liquids and its fumes. Do everything possible to prevent injury to you and others. (9.7.5) Required notification. The National Response Center helps coordinate emergency responses to chemical hazards. It is a resource to police and firefighters. It maintains a 24-hour toll-free phone line listed below. You or your employer must phone when any of the following occur as a direct result of a hazmat incident. A person is killed, an injured person requires hospitalization, estimated property damage exceeds $50,000, the general public is evacuated for more than 1 hour, one or more transportation arteries or facilities are closed for 1 hour or more, fire, breakage, spillage, or suspected radioactive contamination occurs, fire, breakage, spillage, or suspected contamination occurs involving shipment of infectious substances such as bacteria or toxins, or the release of a marine pollutant in a quantity greater than 119 gallons for a liquid or 882 pounds for a solid, or a situation exists, for example, continuing danger to life exists at the scene of an incident that, in the judgment of the carrier, should be reported to National Response Center, 1-800-424-8802. I'm going to read that last bullet point again. The release of a marine pollutant in a quantity greater than 119 gallons for a liquid, or 882 pounds for a solid, or a situation exists, for example, continuing danger to life exists at the scene of an incident that, in the judgment of the carrier, should be reported to the National Response Center at 1-800-424-8802. Persons telephoning the National Response Center should be ready to give their name and address of the carrier they work for, phone number where they can be reached, date, time, and location of incident, the extent of injuries, if any, classification, name, and quantity of hazmat involved if such information is available, type of incident, nature of hazmat involvement, and whether a continuing danger to life exists at the scene. If a reportable quantity of hazardous substance was involved, the name of the shipper and quantity of the hazardous substance discharged. Be prepared to give your employer the required information as well. Carriers must make detailed written reports within 30 days of an incident to Chemtrec at 1-800-424-9300. The Chemical Transportation Emergency Center, Chemtrec, in Washington, D.C., also has a 24-hour toll-free phone line. Chemtrec was created to provide emergency personnel with technical information about the physical properties of hazmat. The National Response Center and Chemtrec are in close communication. If you call either one, they will tell the other about the problem when appropriate. Do not leave radioactive yellow, Roman numeral 2, or yellow Roman numeral 3 labeled packages near people, animals, or film longer than shown in figure 9.10. And I'll take a picture of 9.10 and leave it at the end of this video. The columns of figure 9.10 are, it's titled Radioactive Separation, Table A. The first column is Total Transport Index. Columns 2 through 6 fall under the heading Minimum Distance in Feet to nearest undeveloped film. And column 7 is titled To People or Cargo, Compartment Partitions. And I'll leave a picture of it. Moving on. California immediate spill reporting. Spills of hazmat on California highways must be reported immediately to the CHP office or police department having traffic control jurisdiction, CVC 23112.5. Classes of hazardous materials. Hazmat is categorized into 9 major hazard classes and additional categories for consumer commodities and combustible liquids. The classes of hazmat are listed in Figure 9.11. And 9.11 is titled Hazard Class Definitions, Table B. The first column is titled Class. The second column is titled Class Name. The third column is titled Example. And actually, I'll read these out. Class 1, Explosives. An example, ammunition, dynamite, fireworks. Class 2, Gases. Example, propane, oxygen, helium. Class 3, Flammable. Example, gasoline, acetone. Class 4, Flammable solids. Example, matches, fuses. Class 5, Oxidizers. Example, ammonium nitrate, hydrogen peroxide. Class 6, Poisons. Example, pesticides, arsenic. Class 7, Radioactive. Example, uranium, plutonium. Class 8, Corrosives. Example, hydrochloric acid, battery fluid. Class 9, Miscellaneous hazmat. Example, formaldehyde, asbestos. Under Class 9, the next one is titled None. Class name is ORM-D or Other Regulated Material-Domestic. Example, hairspray, charcoal. And finally, under the first column, class is None. Class name is Combustible Liquids. An example, fuel oils and lighter fluid. Subsections 9.6 and 9.7. Test your knowledge. Question 1. If your placarded trailer has dual tires, how often should you check the tires? Question 2. What is a safe haven? Question 3. How close to the traveled part of the roadway can you park with Division 1.2 or 1.3 materials? Question 4. How close can you park to a bridge, tunnel, or building with the same load? Question 5. What type of fire extinguisher must placarded vehicles carry? Question 6. You are hauling 100 pounds of Division 4.3 dangerous when wet materials. Do you need to stop before a railroad highway crossing? Question 7. At a rest area, you discover your hazmat shipment is slowly leaking from the vehicle. There is no phone around. What should you do? Question 8. What is the Emergency Response Guidebook? Emergency Response Guide, ERG. These questions may be on your test. If you cannot answer them all, reread subsections 9.6 and 9.7. 9.8. Hazardous Materials Glossary. This glossary presents definitions of certain terms used in this section. A complete glossary of terms can be found in the Federal HMR CFR Title 49, 171.8. You should have an up-to-date copy of these rules for your reference. Note, you will not get tested on this glossary. 9.8.1 CFR Title 49, 171.8 Definitions and Abbreviations. Bulk packaging. Packaging other than a vessel or barge, including a transport vehicle or freight container in which hazmat are loaded with no intermediate form of containment and which has 1. A maximum capacity greater than 119 gallons or 450 liters as a receptacle for a liquid. Number 2. A maximum net mass greater than 882 pounds, 400 kilograms, and maximum capacity greater than 119 gallons or 450 liters as a receptacle for a solid. Or 3. A water capacity greater than 1,000 pounds, 454 kilograms, as a receptacle for a gas as defined in CFR Title 49, 173.115. Cargo tank. A bulk packaging which is 1. A tank intended primarily for the carriage of liquids or gases and includes appurtenances, reinforcements, fittings, and closures. For tank definition, see CFR Title 49, 178.3451 subsection C, 178.3371 or 178.3381 as applicable. A bulk cargo tank is a bulk packaging which is, number 2, permanently attached to or forms a part of a motor vehicle, or not permanently attached to a motor vehicle, but which, by reason of its size, construction, or attachment to a motor vehicle, is loaded or unloaded without being removed from the motor vehicle. Number 3, cargo tank is a bulk packaging which is, number 3, not fabricated under a specification for cylinders, portable tanks, tank cars, or multi-unit tank car units. That was a definition of cargo tank. Next is carrier. A person who transports passengers or property in commerce by rail, car, aircraft, motor vehicle, or vessel. Consignee. The business or person to whom a shipment is delivered. Division, a subdivision of a hazard class. EPA, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. FMCSR, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations. Freight container, a reusable container having a volume of 64 cubic feet or more, designed and constructed to permit being lifted with its contents intact and intended primarily for containment of packages in unit form during transportation. Fuel tank, a tank other than a cargo tank used to transport flammable or combustible liquid or compressed gas for the purpose of supplying fuel for propulsion of the transport vehicle to which it is attached, or for the operation of other equipment on the transport vehicle. Gross weight or mass, the weight of the packaging plus the weight of its contents. Hazard class, the category of hazard assigned to a hazmat under the definition criteria of CFR Title 49, Part 173, and the provisions of the CFR Title 49, 172.101 table. A material may meet the defining criteria for more than one hazard class, but is assigned to only one hazard class. Hazardous materials, hazmat, a substance or material which has been determined by the U.S. Secretary of Transportation to be capable of posing an unreasonable risk to health, safety, and property when transported in commerce, and which has been so designated. The term includes hazardous substances, hazardous wastes, marine pollutants, elevated temperature materials, and materials designated as hazardous in the Hazardous Materials Table of CFR Title 49, 172.101, and materials that meet the definition criteria for hazard classes and divisions in CFR Title 49, Part 173, Subchapter C. Hazardous substance. A material, including its mixtures and solutions that, 1, is listed in Appendix A to CFR Title 49, 173, and 172.101. 2. Hazardous substance is a material, including its mixtures and solutions that, is in a quantity in one package which equals or exceeds the reportable quantity, RQ, listed in Appendix A to CFR Title 49, Part 173, and 172.101. And, number 3, when in a mixture or solution for radionuclides, conforms to paragraph 7 of Appendix A to CFR Title 49, Part 173, and 172.101, other than radionuclides, is in a concentration by weight which equals or exceeds the concentration corresponding to the RQ of the material as shown in Figure 9.12. And Figure 9.12, the table is titled Hazardous Substance Concentrations. 3 columns, actually 2 columns really. The first one is RQ, pounds and kilograms, and the second column is concentration by weight, and that is further subdivided into percent and ppm, parts per million. And I'll take a picture of it and put it at the end of the chapter. This definition does not apply to petroleum products that are lubricants or fuels. See CFR Title 40, 300.6. Hazardous waste. For the purposes of this chapter, means any material that is subject to the hazardous waste manifest requirements of the EPA specified in CFR Title 40, 262. Intermediate bulk container, IBC, a rigid or flexible portable packaging other than a cylinder or portable tank which is designed for mechanical handling. Standards for IBCs manufactured in the U.S. are set forth in CFR Title 49, 178, subparts N and O. Limited quantity, the maximum amount of a hazmat for which there may be specific labeling or packaging exceptions. Marking, the descriptive name, ID number, instructions, cautions, weight specifications, United Nations or UN markings, or combinations thereof required on outer packaging of hazmat. Mixture, a material composed of more than one chemical compound or element. Name of contents, the proper shipping name as specified in CFR Title 49, 172.101. Non-bulk packaging, a packaging which has 1, a maximum capacity of 119 gallons or 450 liters or less as a receptacle for a liquid. 2, a maximum net mass less than 882 pounds or 400 kilograms or less, and a maximum capacity of 119 gallons or 450 liters or less as a receptacle for a solid. Or 3, a water capacity greater than 1,000 pounds, 454 kilograms or less as a receptacle for a gas as defined in CFR Title 49, 173.115. Number 4 is, regardless of the definition of bulk packaging, a maximum net mass of 400 kilograms, 882 pounds or less for a bag or box conforming to the applicable requirements for specification packaging including the maximum net mass limitations provided in CFR Title 49, Part 178, Subpart L. Next is NOS, meaning not otherwise specified. Outage or ullage, the amount by which a packaging falls short of being liquid full, usually expressed in percent by volume. The amount of outage required for liquids in cargo tank depends on how much the material will expand with temperature change during transit. Different materials expand at different rates. Enough outage must be allowed so that the tank will not be full at 130 degrees Fahrenheit. FHMSA, Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration. Read that again. Not F. PHMSA. PHMSA. Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, U.S. Department of Transportation, Washington, D.C., 20590. Portable tank, bulk packaging except a cylinder having a water capacity of 1,000 pounds or less, designed primarily to be loaded onto, on, or temporarily attached to a transport vehicle or ship and equipped with skids, mountings, or accessories to facilitate handling the tank by mechanical means. It does not include a cargo tank, tank car, multi-unit tank, car tank, or trailer carrying 3AX, 3AAX, or 3T cylinders. Proper shipping name. The name of the hazmat shown in Roman print, not italics, as in not italics, in CFR Title 49, 172.101. PSI, pounds per square inch. Next is PSIA, pounds per square inch absolute. Reportable quantity, or RQ, the quantity specified in column 2 of Appendix A to CFR Title 49, 172.101 for any material identified in column 1 of Appendix A. Next is shipper's certification, a statement on a shipping paper signed by the shipper saying they prepared the shipment properly according to law. For example, quote, "This is to certify that the above named materials are properly classified, described, packaged, marked, and labeled, and are in proper condition for transportation according to the applicable regulations or the Department of Transportation." Or, quote, "I hereby declare that the contents of this consignment are fully and accurately described above by the proper shipping name and are classified, packaged, marked, and labeled or placarded and are in all respects in proper condition for transport by," and then here you would insert the mode of transportation, such as rail, aircraft, motor, vehicle, or vessel, "according to applicable international and national government regulations." End of quote. Shipping paper. A shipping order, bill of lading, manifest, or other shipping document serving a similar purpose prepared in accordance with CFR Title 49, 172, Subpart C. Technical name. A recognized chemical name or microbiological name currently used in scientific and technical handbooks, journals, and texts. Transport vehicle. A cargo carrying vehicle such as an automobile, van, tractor, truck, semi-trailer, tank car, or rail car used for transportation of cargo by any mode. Each cargo carrying body, whether it be trailer, rail car, etc., is a separate transport vehicle. UN standard packaging. Packaging specifications conforming to standards in UN recommendations. And finally, UN, United Nations. End of chapter 9.